Hello, I am Sensei Kevlar. Welcome back to the dojo. Up until now, we have been talking about ways to create strategies, optimize them, based upon patterns that we discover in the market, and utilize them to optimize them based upon statistical analysis of those patterns. Those patterns tend to form because traders tend to optimize their strategies based upon these patterns that I'm showing you. As we dive more into the way in which we automate our portfolio, I want to talk a little bit more about what happens when we figured out a strategy. We figured out a series of optimizations based upon a strategy, and we've made a plan for buying and selling using that strategy. Let's say that we have decided that the market has come in some imaginary world. It's gone up to here, and then it's come back down to here. Okay. And what we've decided is, because we've decided that the RSI is doing this, and the retracement is on this, and the historical support is on this, and yada yada, all of the signals have told us that we are going to go ahead and do allocation at this point. Okay. Well, one option is to do allocation at this point based upon a fixed amount. But if we know the amount that we're going to be buying, and the amount is, more than just, $1 or two worth, or a couple of dollars worth, we might employ further strategies to optimize our variance within this market. Okay? One of the strategies that we can employ is the scheduling strategy. When you schedule your buys, rather than buying all of this amount at this time, what we're saying is we're going to buy this amount over this time frame. I'm going to, schedule a time frame here, right? And based upon what we believe the previous amount between motions to be, which is this right here, right? We say we're going to schedule our buying along this time frame. So rather than doing all of our buying right here, we're going to schedule, 25% of our buying here, 25% of our buying here, 25% of our buying here, and 25% of our buying here. Okay. Well, what has that really done for us at this point? What have we accomplished by doing that? Well, one of the things that could happen is we could come down further and give ourselves a better price at this time frame. Okay? So what this would have done is this would have accomplished buying at this price using our plan, but instead of buying at this price using our plan, because we used a schedule, we waited to do our buying till this point in time. Just based upon it triggered here, and so that we scheduled it for here, okay? And if it remained at this point or below, if it gave us a better price, then we would go ahead and do our buying at a better price. If it went above this price right here, well, the schedule would be no good. We wouldn't be doing our buying. Look, it went above this price. Whatever dollar cost average we reached by going down to this price, that's what we reached. Okay? Same thing with selling. If we're going to be doing our selling, and we schedule our selling for this point, but we schedule it for along this schedule right here, well, maybe we do some of our selling up here at a better point. okay? At which point we might have scheduled more selling. At which point we might have caused ourselves to put more selling on our event calendar. Okay, so this is scheduling buying and selling. This is scheduling allocation and distribution in terms of a time frame. And if the time frame we wait, it gives us a better price. And if it goes below that price within our time frame, we simply don't sell. We make a plan to buy again. If this is where we're going to be doing our selling at, and this, is how much we're going to be doing our selling, we can sell 10% here, 10% here, 10% here, 10% here. We can be doing half of our selling here along a given time frame. Scheduling allows us to take advantage of additional market motions in either direction, or simply stay out of market motions that don't make us profitable. We could have taken a small position here, made some profit here, and made more profit here. Meanwhile, we could have, been doing some buying here and more buying here, and it would have been the same. But other times when it came down here, we could have been saving this buy that we would have been doing right here by applying a schedule. We would have been saving the buying that we did right here and seeing that we could have made money instead by not doing the buying, except when it comes back down here. Okay? So, depending upon how you optimize this strategy, it will perform differently in different markets. Depending upon how you schedule out this trade, this amount right here, how you scale this amount for different markets, this will perform better or worse. Let me show you a different way of thinking about the same thing when we're using automation. When we're using the strategy, and we figured out the strategy, and we figured out that we're going to be going ahead and doing some selling at this point right here, okay? Whatever our strategy is, we bought down here, we're doing some selling up, we're doing some selling right here, and maybe it's on a schedule, maybe it's not. The point is that there is some amount that we want to sell right here. What we want to do is we want to mark the fact that we are going to sell and then wait for the market to either go up, and if the market goes up, let me change the color on that. If the market goes up, we're going to go ahead and trail the market up, okay? So if the market is here, we're going to trail it up by this percentage. And if it goes up, we're going to move this percentage up more. And then what happens is eventually, just zoom back in here. What eventually happens is the market comes down and it hits this green line, right? Because we were moving this line up as the market went up. And then the market comes down and it hits this line right here. And now is when we do the selling. We started out down here, and we said, okay, it's time to sell, and we see the market is right here, so we're just going to put this line right here, and we're going to see what the market does next. Remember, this is a bot making the decisions. This isn't a human. This is how we're telling the bot to trade for us, to do our selling for us. We're saying, okay, bot, go ahead, and it's time to do some selling based upon our strategy, based upon our selling. When the market moves up, we trail this up a percentage of the market. Maybe it's 5% of the market. When the market comes down, we do the sell. Same thing on the buying. Let's say that this is the point at which we decide to do the buying. Okay, market, it's time to do the buying. What we're going to do is we're going to put the mark right here and wait for the market to cross, okay? And if the market goes down, we're going to go ahead and trail the market down this much, Okay, this difference right here. And when the market comes up, we're not going to do anything. And then when the market comes up to here, we're going to be doing the buying. Now, the buying here is at a better price than if you had been doing the buying when the buy actually activated. This is called a trailing stop. And I recommend that you use trailing stops in volatile markets, because what happens is these sells, not only do I recommend that you use trailing stops in volatile markets, but I recommend you use aggressive scheduling in these markets. If this is a very volatile market, setting your trend on a sell to a very short length will often net you more profit than setting it to a very long length and not doing the selling, okay? Vice versa, in a down market, setting the buy to a short length will have you be doing all the buying down here when you could wait to be doing some buying down here instead. Okay? Depending upon how you schedule your buying and selling, depending upon how you schedule how you configure your trailing stop, this is going to affect how your strategy performs. Okay? So one of the ways in which we can automate buying and selling is by trailing stops and by scheduling. Now, the whole point of trailing stops and scheduling is to automate optimization and decrease variance and take advantage of these rapid motions right here. Okay? It's to go ahead and wait for this to happen and not do the sale just yet, and instead do the sale right here when it comes up, and then it comes back down into your green because this trailed by 10% of market motion up, and then waited for it to come 10% down, and you picked up 30% on this motion right here. Depending upon how you configure this 10%, well, this is going to be very different, and it's going to work very different, and it's going to produce very different results in different markets. This is a volatile market right here. Okay? Starting here, this was a very not volatile market, and then starting here, this was a volatile market. Okay? And here we're seeing some compression, and here we're starting to see some expansion again. Some upward trending motion. Okay. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing trailing stops in action. We're seeing the bots program these trailing stops using schedules. We're definitely seeing a lot of scheduling. If you analyze the market and you look at how people are actually doing their buying and selling, they're not doing it all at once at a specific price point. They're doing it once here, and again here, and again here, unless it comes up to here, at which point they're doing their selling here, and right here. And it's the same coin that they bought down here, and they dollar cost averaged. It's the same coin here that they sold, that they're going to sell again, or they're going to wait for up here, or they're going to wait for up here, or they're going to wait for up here, or they're going to have money on the ready for down here. And they're going to trail stop every single trade they're going to make, and they're going to schedule every single plan they're going to make over a time frame to take massive and then they're going to optimize this. They're going to optimize this for whatever time frame they think that this market is moving. If they think this market is moving in a volatile time frame, they might shorten the time frame for buying and selling. If they think the market is moving in a very steadily downward time frame, they might lengthen the time frame for buying while shortening the time frame for selling. If they think the market is very volatile, they might shorten the time frame for buying while lengthening the time frame for selling. Depending upon how they optimize their strategy, it's going to produce different results, and how you optimize your strategy is going to make you the trader that you are, how you plan the trade and trade the plan. Now, the point of all of this is not for you to sit here and trail the market up and wait for it to come down and then do your selling. No, it's to automate this. The whole point of creating a strategy, not this strategy, but a strategy that you can program, a strategy that you can optimize, a strategy that you can backtest, a strategy that you can plan your allocation for, a strategy that will keep you in the market no matter what the market does and making money no matter how the market moves. Because you got more money for when it comes down here, and you got more plan for when it comes down here, and you got your distribution scheduled, and your trailing stop all the way up to here, and your trailing stop, you're buying your allocation all the way down to here, and here, and here, and here. The whole point of this is to automate the plan. Now, if you have decided that this is what you're going to do, you're going to sit here and do the analysis, do the planning, create the points at which you're actually going to be doing your buying and selling, automate your portfolio, have a bot figure out your dollar cost average, have the bot do your allocation here, 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 and here, and your distribution here, 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 and here, but not just sell here, 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 but sell over a time frame. If it goes above here, this amount, and above at a time frame, over a time frame, if it goes over here, this amount as distribution on a schedule. And it's going to trail stop the market all the way up when it makes these big motions and comes down and makes you sell up here instead of right here and make you money. And it's going to trail stop these motions and make you buy down here instead of right here. If you have decided that this is what you're going to do in this market, and you're going to be in this market for a long time, years to come potentially, you're going to sit here and buy when it goes down and sell when it comes up and dollar cost average your entire time. You can simplify all of this further. What I want to point out to you is that what I said is that you would be buying and selling a range. You would have allocated none of your portfolio for up here because you would have sold everything as part of your plan. You would have allocated all of the portion of your portfolio that you allocated for this opportunity because you bought all the way down to not this line, but this line. Let's not go negative here now. But this line right here, okay? What I'm pointing out to you is that based upon where you are in this range right here dictates how much you're holding at any given time. And if you're down here and you're only holding as much as you should be down here, you should be buying, and you're not holding as much as you should be down here according to your plan, then you do some more allocation and you do it on a trailing stop and you do it with a schedule. And if you're here and you're holding more than you should, according to your distribution schedule, Then you do some selling on a schedule with some trailing stops to take advantage of market motions up. And the difference between where you do your buying and where you do your selling, that dead zone where you don't do any buying and you let the market move either up or down before you do selling up here or buying down here, well, that's how much money you make. Now, what I also said was you wouldn't just treat this as a linear motion. You wouldn't treat this as zero. If this is 0% and this is 100% of your allocation, then this would not necessarily be 50%. What I said is this would be 50% and this would be 100%, right? Because this has to be 25%, this has to be 12%, this has to be 6.25%. Or 6.5%, and this has to be whatever the math works out to, the percentage of dollar cost averaging, okay? But what I said here is that this right here, this line right here, is an interpolation, and along each of these points is a data point. Along each of these points is an amount you should be holding, and if you're holding more than you should at this level, it's time to go into distribution, and if you're holding more than you should at this level, it's time to go into allocation. And if you're in between your dead zone, if you're in between your pivot margin where the market can pivot around, you're doing neither. Right here, we just went into allocation, okay? We just went into distribution because it's now, and we sold this much, which pushes how much we should be holding up by this much, and now here's our dead zone, and now we're waiting for the market to come down here, and we'll go into allocation again, like we did back here. And then we'll do some selling up here. And right now we're buying, right now we're waiting. Right now we're in the dead zone, except we did some distribution right here, right? Depending upon how this came down, right? Maybe we're in a dead zone right now. Depending upon your strategy, depending upon where you are in the market, depending upon where you are in what I call a straddle, where you are straddling the market, where you're putting one foot on one side and the other foot on the other side, and you're just taking a position, selling when it goes up and buying when it goes down, along a interpolated axis of allocation and distribution based upon a schedule using trailing stops, and you're doing it based upon a plan you made that is optimized for the market. And no matter what the market does, that optimization will eventually work in your favor, because if it doesn't stop here, it will probably stop here, and if it doesn't stop here, it has an even greater chance of stopping here, and if it doesn't stop here, it has an even greater chance of stopping here. Well, if it doesn't stop there, the next stop is 0, and a coin gets delisted, and you bet on the wrong market. Don't bet on shitcoins. Don't bet on coins that only go to 0. This is where fundamental analysis will save you. This is where the media will save you. This is where taking a straddle in a position long term and then narrowing it for the media will make you more money, because instead of taking 25%, you're now here at 25%, but you're using the same amount of money. And depending upon how you allocate and how you distribute and how you schedule your allocation and distribution, you know exactly how much money you make versus how much you risk for when it goes against this number right here. Because now you need to dollar cost average this. And you didn't allocate for it. Plan the trade.